Hi everyone. So I thought I'd get you ready for Easter, seeing as it's just around the corner. I'm going to show you how to make these cute little Easter baskets here. And you can either put chocolate Easter eggs in them, or you could put hard-boiled eggs in them for Easter morning, or you could blow out the egg and do some painting. But in my one, in some of them, I've got my little gold Easter eggs that are my Bernina Easter eggs. And then I've also made, just picking up my thread, I've made a larger one, which actually is big enough to put either lots of Easter egg goodies, or it actually fits Easter buns in it. So you could also make this to put, hot cross buns, You could do it for bread rolls as well, and you could use it any time of the year. So all I did was make this twice the size and made a bigger one. So I've filled it up with Easter goodies for the grandchildren, which you give them when they're going home, right? You don't give them when they're at your house because there's too much sugar in them. So one family each will get one of these just with a little egg. That's all they need. And with this one, I've added some little chickens onto each corner. This family actually hatches little chickens, so they've got a little chicken on each one of theirs. Righty-ho, so what we decided to do was, we've actually made kits, so you can actually purchase a kit, all different colours, and in the kit you get your backing fabric, you get 2 layers of iron-on pellin. So this is the very, very lightweight one. You do not need anything thick, and then you get 4 fabrics to use for your little squares. So when you get them, you need to cut them into the right side squares. So you're just given the fabric pretty much cut into squares, but you need to make sure that every single one of these squares is exactly the same size before you start going. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you how to do these. I'll just move my eggs to the side, and I've got the 1/4 inch foot on. And I'm simply going to take a spot and a stripe fabric and lay them right side to right side, and then a stripe and a spot fabric and lay them right side to right side. Now, I don't know if you know this, but on your sewing foot, down the side of your sewing foot, there is some little markings, and they are 1/4 inch markings. So it just means you can stop a 1/4 inch from the edge or start a 1/4 inch from the edge. So these little 1/4 inch notches in your foot are really, really handy. Okay, so we're going to use those today. If you've got a machine with a jewel feed, by all means use it. So what I'm going to do is you can pin or clip your pieces together to hold them together while you are waiting to sew them, so you don't end up with them moving. When you're going to be doing these, I suggest you make a few at the same time because they're that quick and easy. And I'm sure you might have friends or neighbours, if you don't have grandchildren, to make them for. And they're just a fun little thing to have. So I am going to just start, find my foot control, and I'm going to start. I've got my marking here on my foot, and I'm just going to move that back just a little bit to show you. So what will I use? I'll just use something out of here so I can point it out. Here we are, a pair of scissors. So right here is a 1/4 inch mark. So if I put that on the edge of my fabric, it's going to start exactly a 1/4 inch from the edge. And when I get to the other end, I will use this 1/4 inch mark, and it will stop a 1/4 inch from the edge. So they're a very good foot. You also have them on the 37 foot as well. So this is for the other sewing machines. You've got the same little 1/4 inch notches on all the 1/4 inch feet by Bernina. So it doesn't matter what machine you've got, how old your machine is, your 1/4 inch feet will have those markings. They're extremely handy. So this one here is, I'm starting a 1/4 inch from the edge, and I'm not back stitching, and there's my cat. Hop down, hop down, hop down. He likes to come up while I'm sewing. Sorry, apologies about that. So I am sewing a 1/4 inch from here, and I'm going to stop a 1/4 inch from the end. there, and I can just push my scissors and cut that off. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the iron and I'm going to press that seam open. So I'll do the next one now. And just put that onto there. Yes, the cat was up earlier knocking all down my quilt clips. So yes, bit of a nuisance in the sewing room some days. And cut that. And now iron these open. So it's not often you do that, but for this job you want to iron them open. So just with your iron, I love these little craft irons. Whoops. Just grab the middle of your fabric like that and press that seam open. Okay. And then you're going to turn that up the right side and do the same to this one. Right, so now I'm going to put right side to right side, so I want the stripe to be opposite. I'm lining up my two seams, as you can see here, and I'm going to lay them down so that they are exactly even, and I will put a clip in there. I will put a clip at the end. I very rarely use pins for doing these jobs, because why would you when you've got quilting clips? And I don't need to put another one there. So this time I can go all the way from one end to the other. You can also stop if you want to do your 1/4 inch, but you don't need to. And when I come across the center, just keep it nice and flat. And I like to just reverse, oops, I missed it, reverse it that little bit to make it nice and strong, because you're going to be stitching again later. Now when you've done this seam, you're also going to be pressing it open, and this time this is your finished size, so I want to make sure that my backing fabric is exactly the same size as the front of my fabric, because they need to go together. So I'm going to iron this one open. And press those seams open. Now by doing it this way, you end up with a very, very, very nice tidy finish, and there's no bulk because those are not all stitched down, so it makes it nice and tidy. So now what I want to do is to make sure that this is the same size, because these were pre-cut obviously, and if it's not, then I make my outer the size of my inner. So now I'm just going to go up to my cutting bench here, and I'm going to cut these so they're exactly the same size. So I'm just going to trim this off. Because you do want it to be a square. I'm just going to move that table, and I just turn this around rather than moving my work. Make sure it's down there, and just trim it all to fit. So use your marks on your ruler to make sure that it will be square. Turn it around. Trim off any pieces, whoops, trim off any pieces that you do not need. And get that all even, and use the lines on your ruler. Oh, I just completely moved that then. So now it's going to end up, it doesn't matter what size it ends up as long as it's a square. Okay, so I will just cut this one and recheck that size. Quite handy having this little cutting table here. As long as you've got a board and a space, you're all good to go. Right, so what I need to do is check this size. So I'm going to bring it right down to the corner, and that is 10 3/4. So it is 10 3/4 exactly there, and I'm just going to turn that, so that's looking good. Now what you've got is you've got your front and your back. Now this is going to be centered in the middle there, and I usually have about a 1/2 inch round each side, so I will just trim this one side because that's looking pretty good because I've made it a bit smaller. So about a 1/2 inch. There's no strict rules about this because it is just for holding Easter eggs. So approximately like that. So you've got kind of an even amount, and make this one the same size. So this has got a bumpy bit down here. Now that means that is the side that irons down. All right, so if you had that side up, you would just connect it to your ironing station, your iron. So you do not want to do that. So pop this on and make sure these are both roughly the same size, and make sure that you have got a pressing cloth. So you don't want to go and iron this just in case you have it up the wrong way so it sticks to your iron. So I use a Teflon iron sheet. So now you've got rid of all of those little bits and bobs. You're going to pop this onto here like this, and you're going to put this one onto the back like this. All right, so when I come onto here, just move these bits and pieces. Make sure you shut the blade so you don't cut yourself. When you go onto here, you don't want to iron onto there because you might melt that because it's polyester. So you want to use an ironing sheet. So this is your Teflon ironing sheet. And I can move that over. And you want to iron, make sure it's flat. Now it's really, really important that this gets ironed on properly. If you don't iron it on and it's nice and firm, when you turn it through, it's going to all catch. So you want to make sure it's definitely ironed on. So just press it rather than ironing it, and make sure it's well set. And you're going to do the same to both sides. So you can turn even these little irons up. You can turn them up so they're a little bit hotter, and make sure that it's stuck. And then I'm going to turn it to the right side and iron again so I know that it's all stuck. So turn it to this side, and now I can just put straight onto the fabric, and I know that that's stuck very, very well. That's not going anywhere. So this particular fabric is a beautiful Liberty fabric, and it's going to make a very pretty little basket. This one's actually stuck very, very, very well. The other fabrics I'm using are cottons, but we thought they looked quite pretty with it. So there's my wadding has become my fabric. All right, going to do the same to this one. So the first thing I do is lay it down, make sure it's centered, put my pressing cloth on, and press. Don't iron like you iron clothes. Make sure you're getting plenty of heat on there, so you get a really nice finish. There's nothing worse than having to turn something through and all the wadding comes with you when you're trying to flatten it out. Okay? So we want to make sure we've ironed it very, very well. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I must have told you, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times, but we're going to stay stitch where our opening's going. So turn it over to the right side and press. That's cute in these colours. So I'll just show you, because of the way I stitched, oh, bit more just there, you can see it. Don't rush it. Because of the way that I have stitched that seam, see how you end up with a perfect centre? So using the foot, the way we pressed it open, you end up with a perfect centre. So now what I'm going to be doing is joining these two together. But what I want to do is do a stay stitch. Now a stay stitch means that you have put your stitch length nice and close to about two length, and you're sewing an area where you're going to turn your work through, and the stay stitch stops it from stretching. So the first thing I'm going to do is stay stitch a little area here, and that's going to be my turning point. Now, as the years have gone on, I've got more intelligent, and I want to mark this one. So instead of actually marking it, I just sit it beside where I am going to need it to be stay stitched, and then there's my finger, that's where I'm stopping, and I just stay stitch it to there so I know it's going to be exactly where I want it. Why have I not thought of that before? I used to mark them, I just don't anymore. So now I turn right side to right side. I've got my opening marking and I know exactly where I'm sewing to. I pop a clip in the end, I pop a clip in that corner, I pop a clip in that corner, and just one there, and that's all stuck really, really well. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch so you can see clearly my stay stitching that I've previously done here and here. So I'm going to start where the stay stitching is and I'm going to stop where that stay stitching is. It's extremely easy. And I need my point turner next. Note to oneself, wind up your threads when you finish using them, because otherwise this happens. So I did this at Bernina Club and now look at the mess I'm in. So I need to tidy those up before I use them. Should have done it before, shouldn't have left it. But I did. So it just shows you I do it as well. Take the time to clean up. So now I'm going to start here. I'm going to clear my stitch length because I put it on 2 and it's gone back to 2.5. I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to go forward and reverse and my needle stop downs function on. Now remember, when you come to a corner, you're going to sew down. You're going to stop a 1/4 inch away from the edge because you've got your markings. Your foot's going to lift up. You're going to do 1 stitch. Your foot's going to lift up because we've got it on hover. Oh, that one needs to be ironed down a bit more. We'll do that in a minute. And I'm going to go down to the other corner. This is the time when you can see if you've, because that one I was rushing that a little bit, I must admit. Don't rush it. Make sure you press it well because it's a nuisance for the next step if you don't. Make sure everything's nice and even. Sew to your next corner. Stop a 1/4 inch from the edge. Lift, turn, 1 stitch. Lift and turn, or it'll do it itself. Sew to the next corner. By the way, just leave your iron on when you're doing these things because you may need to repress and you're going to need to press it shortly anyway. Make sure your corners are together and they haven't moved. There. Come down to your corner. Whoop. If you go too far, slow down and go 1, 2 back and see where you're at. Right, 1 forward, you can still fix it. Lift and turn. So if you go too far, go backwards and do it again. Go all the way to the other end. These are so quick, you'll want to make them. They're so good. Come to this corner. Lift and turn. Up. I did 2 stitches, so go 1 back. Nice. And lift and turn and go to your stay stitch. And cut. Now remember, I'm going to repress these corners. They weren't pressed enough. So take your work out, pop it back onto here, put your pressing cloth on and make sure those are ironed on properly. Take a little bit more time. And the next corner. And we're going to be turning it through, so make sure everything is heat pressed. And this corner, you do not want it to be coming off. And you're going to be pressing it again shortly, but if you get this pressed well, when you turn it through, you won't have any bunches up. Okay, that's better. Now all you're going to do now is you're going to clip across your corners. You can use those little scraps for confetti, fabric confetti actually. Right, now find your opening here. Turn your fabric to the right side using your point turner to push out the corners. I always go to the opposite side first, then I go to the next one, and then the last one. There we are. And I've told you if you leave about a 3-inch opening, it's much easier. So in the notes, so now I'm just going to use my point turner and push that out gently. Do not use scissors. It's never a good ending. And then poke this end and this end. These make like little bunny ears. And the last one. Then we're going to iron it, and what we actually do is we put on our number 10 foot and we edge stitch around the whole thing. Okay. Now the beauty of the stay stitch is, because I've done it here, when you iron it, you have no stretching from where you've turned everything through. So a stay stitching is a must for a perfect result. So good. So now I'm going to press this, and I don't need to worry about anything stretching or anything like that, because we have done everything the right way, made life easy. So give it a really good press all around those edges, and this is the only time you get to iron it. So you want to make sure you do it right, make sure you get all your edges out. Not that children and chocolate will notice, but you'll notice. And I think these are a lovely gift. So if you've got any children in the neighbourhood that you think might be nice, please ask their parents first. Don't go giving children chocolate if they're not allowed them. Or if you don't want to give chocolate to children, you could teach them how to paint an egg. It's good fun. So I must do that again. I haven't done that since I was a child, actually. So I've left my number 10D foot at work. So I'm just going to use my little number 10 foot for my other machine. So I'm going to pop this on the machine, and I'm going to put my needle position to the left. Oh, I better tell the machine what foot I've got on. So I've got a 10 foot, and I had it in my hand today as well, and I still left it there. And I'm going to, you can start where your opening is, but it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to put my foot down, and I'm going to put my needle position to the left, and I'm going to lengthen my stitch out to 3 length. So I'm top stitching. I didn't back stitch at the beginning. I don't need to. I'll just overlap it when I get to the other end. So when you're doing this, I've just started off sewing, and then I just come back and cut my thread before I get around the other side. I actually did start at my opening, not even knowing I did. So now all I'm going to do is stitch all the way around. When I get to the corners, I'm going to stop with the needle down. And I'm going to do one more stitch. And if you go too far, one back. And lift and turn and go all the way around. To the point. Slowing down is a good thing sometimes. Turn. Now, when you do the next step, you want to make sure you put your squares right side to right side, because that's the one that's going to fold back, and you have your backing fabric on the outside, as I may have done it wrong once. Because you're not here to tell me that I've done it wrong, I'll do it right this time. There we go. When you come round to join it up, you're just going to overlap where you started, and you can backstitch and then cut your thread. And clip. So now I have a piece of fabric all sewn together, quite bizarre. Now all you do is put your right side to right side, match up your seam like that, put a clip on this side and a clip on this side, and what you're going to do is you're going to do a straight stitch down through all the layers about 1 inch. All right, so I'm going to clear my work. I'll leave my number 10 foot on, and I'm just going to make sure I've got it all correct. Now I start down the bottom and go backwards rather than starting up the top. So I just put my needle down and I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to go forwards, and I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to go forwards, and I'm going to cut. Reason being, children are going to have this. You want it to be strong. We don't underestimate a child when it comes to playing with things, and they can use this long after Easter. Now what you do now is you have got your piece like this, you've got your stitching, you open this one out. You simply open this one out and you just put right side to right side, and you line up your center mark that you've previously had. You put a clip in here, and you put a clip in here, and then you bring this side up to where you've sewn, and you clip all of these pieces together. So it looks like that. So you've got this one folded this way, this one folded the same way, and you've lined it up. Now this is quite thick, but you can still do it by machine. If you want to do it by hand, that's fine, but do I? No. In fact, I might just put my normal 1D foot on, so it's a bigger foot and it's a little bit heavier to push down on my work. I don't need the dual feed, so I'm just lining all of this up, and I'm going to go right down to there, so it's about 1 inch, and I'm going to go backwards. Oh, tell my machine I've changed the foot. Excellent. So 1D done, and I'm going to go backwards first, 1 inch from the end. Nice and slow, it's very thick. Go forwards. Oh, it's thick. And go backwards and go forwards, and then cut. Okay, so now I will cut my thread there. There's a little bit of thread there I'm going to cut my thread here, and there's the cat again. They don't want to see your bottom, thank you. So now I have got this, and you go, well, how does that make a pouch? So you fold back this. Oh, you're a nuisance. Go down. And you fold back this one. Oh my goodness. And you fold back this one, and you fold back this one. You're a nuisance. We have a star of the show. And now I have just squished out the bottom. I'll put you in it in a minute. I've squished out the bottom like that. And I can now put my Easter eggs in it. Go away. Okay, so here we have, once you put the eggs in it, it will all sit nice and flat. How cute are they? I might have, where's my golden ones? I might do 2 Easter and 2 golden ones in here. So you can see how simple and easy they are, and how much fun they are to make, and how diverse they can be with the different colours. So check that lot out. I think every household is going to be very happy. So this, oh, I've got more things. I can put that one in there. I've got a gold one in there, a gold one in there. They can all have one each. Be like a lucky dip. So there you go. So that's my happy Easter little project. When you come back, I'm going to show you how to make this great little wallet And I've been using mine ever since I made them, and they are so useful. They're to hold your cards and a bit of cash if you need to take cash when you're just going out, and they're not bulky. You can put them in your pocket, put them in your purse, and they're very quick and easy to make. So I'm going to show you that in a minute.